Okay, good afternoon everybody. You must have been exhausted after hearing the number of papers, and I think that this is the last one, and I will finish this in the prescribed time of 30 minutes, that's what she said. I will be presenting a paper on the evolution of temple culture or the evolution of temples in Kerala. Why I am talking about the evolution of Kerala in temple? Because the previous paper, the temple has been come out of the Yaga Gupta, Yajna Guptas and things like that. But this is a totally different aspect of presenting the paper, the evolution of and the uniqueness of Kerala. Kerala is a very unique place in the sense that it doesn't have any connection with the other part of India for a very long period. Because of the high ranges in the eastern side of Kerala, people were not able to travel much to the Kerala side, and it has developed its own style, and even the development of the Kerala architectural style also is unique when you compare that with other parts of India. Its connection with the external world was through the sea. They had a good connection with the Polynesians, Greeks, Egyptians, and as well as Chinese, but not with the other part of India even. So what has happened in Kerala is unique, and the worship, or we can say that the temple worship has started in a very ancient period in the form of nature worship. The nature worship of the form which has followed in Kerala, and the earliest form of nature worship was in the form of Sarpakava. And Sarpakava means it is the Sarpakava is the grove. It is a small place to keep as a grove, a smaller forest where the idols of serpents will be kept. It's very similar to what you see in the modern temples. And here is a picture of a temple. Okay, you see the picture of a temple surrounded by a forest. This is the almost a modern temple, and this is the picture of one of the largest temples in Kerala, Sri Vadakunatha Temple, which is an ASI protected monument, and it is surrounded by a forest of teak. It's a teak forest, surrounded by a teak forest of 26 acres. This is the way you see the temples in a very humane form, very small, and comparing the temples that you see elsewhere in India. I have shown two temples, which is one is Tanjavur and the other is Mathura. The scale, proportions of the temples are so different from those you see in Kerala. At the starting I said that the Sarpakava, the concept of the Sarpakava, and this is the picture or the sketch of a residential road which will be divided into 4 sectors, and one sector is set apart as a small grove, and that is the normal situation in all the residential hamlets in Kerala in the ancient times. So 25% of the land will be set apart as a natural grove where nobody is permitted to enter. And the natural growth will be there, and there will be 1 or 2 idols of the serpents, and sometimes there will be some yachis means maybe yogini or something like that, you can say that. That also will be seen. And in the modern times, we see some temples which bear the name of the carver. And this is the temple in Thrissur, which is known as Paramel Carver. Carver means it's a grove, but this is a modern temple which is situated in the urban area. Maybe over the years, all the surrounding forests must have been vanished, and but the name still remains. The Carver name remains still. And this is the normal Sarpa Carver, where the idols of serpents are kept for worship. And this is a live area, very near to Alapi, where the serpents are and surrounded by a carver. And this worship, the Sarpa worship, the Naga worship is still persistent. And this is a photograph of a Sarpa carver in an urban area in Kochi. It is surrounded by the residential areas, and in one such residential area there is a small Sarpa carver. But it is a normal thing that you see in most of the houses. They still keep a small place for a Sarpa carver which is not visited by normal people, and 1 or 2 days in a year they will have some pujas and things like that. Now, from the Sarpa carver, you come to another form of worship that is known as Bhagavati carver. Bhagavati is the goddess, benevolent goddess. You can have the goddess in various forms like Durga, Bhadragali, like that. And this is the modest form of goddess, that is Bhagavati. And there are some places devoted to this carver. Again, the carver, Bhagavati carver, is a place which is surrounded by the forest. And this is associated with the temple. This is again is a carver. You can see a small platform and water body and things like that. That's not normally there will not be any idols that is being kept inside that place, and it is worshipped as the deity, Bhagavati. Now the second stage. This is the first stage, the carver. The first stage, the Sarpa carver, and then the Bhagavati carver. Sarpa carver is still, you can see it as Sarpa carver, and then Bhagavati carver has been developed into temples at a later stage. The second stage in the development of the temple is the Sarpa carver. From the exterior, it has grown into the interior of a residential building. In the Nalagatta, which is a normal residential area of Kerala, one portion of that area has been set apart for the Sarpa carver. Not Sarpa carver, for the worship of serpents. In any residential village, there is one important place which is known as Ara, where you keep all your goodies and things like that. And all the ornaments, all these things, all the valuables, everything will be kept. And there will be an underground chamber where the Nagas are kept. It's normal in all the houses, you will have an Ara at the top and a Nelavara at the bottom. And the Nelavara is where all the valuables will be kept. You must have heard about the Nelavara that is very famous in Padmanabhaswamy temple, which has not yet been opened, and it is assumed that there is lakhs and lakhs rupees worth valuables are there kept in that. So every house, every residential house will have an Ara, where you keep the paddy, and then Nelavara, where you keep the valuables. And in some places where the Sarpa carver has been transferred or has been shifted into the Nelavara or the Nalagatta. This is the interior of one such Nalagatta, where the Sarpa carver, the worship, Naga worship has been conducted inside the Nelavara. And the other two pictures are the surrounding carver, where there is a water shed is there, and then there is a place where the worships are being done once in a year. Now the development of the Bhagavati Kava. The development of Bhagavati Kava is slightly different. When you go to the houses of Brahmins, in the central courtyard, there will be a small pedestal where there will be the shrub of jasmine flowers, and there is a worship of the lady, jasmine goddess. Mullattara Bhagavati, that's what we normally call in Malayalam. Mullattara is the platform for jasmine flowers, and that is being worshipped by the ladies of the house. In both Sarpakava also, ladies are the worshippers, normal worshippers, or once in a while the men will come and do the worship. Normally the ladies will do the worship. In this Bhagavati Kava also, this is the origin of the Bhagavati Kava, where the Nalikata, that courtyard of Nalikata has a Bhagavati, that's the benevolent goddess. And this is a picture of that, but it's a sketch. This is a picture where you can see the on one side of the courtyard. It has been taken on a rainy day, but it's not really clear. And you can see, if you look very clearly, you can see that platform. That is in the case of Nalikata. When it comes to the Nalikata of the other people, other castes, again there is a concept of this Bhagavati, but it is not in the form inside the courtyard, but again it is inside the Nalvara. And there is a story says that in the very with the flooding days and things like that, because Kerala is very famous for the floods and things like that, a lady came with the food for the children and then went to the Nalvara, and then she was not seen anywhere. And every day there is a light will be kept in front of that Nalvara. And this is the Nalvara beside the photograph of the Nalvara. Now the third stage. From the Nalvara, it has been converted into the full temple worship. And you will see the first temple is the temple of the Sarpaka, and that is the temple devoted for the serpent, and the other one is the temple devoted for the Bhagavati. And this is a sketch of the Bhagavati Kava. The entire area is surrounded by Kava. Now, the third stage, the next stage is the proper temples, and the temples have been constructed. And it's very difficult to say when this worship of the Bhagavati and the Nagas has been changed into the worship of the gods and goddesses. And it says that it has happened around the Bhakti movement of Sri Shankaracharya, the 8th century. And then after the 8th century, you will see the temples that has come up in other places. Especially during the second Chera Empire, which has started from the 8th century to 11th century. A large number of temples has been constructed all across Kerala, which is dedicated to all the type of gods, Krishna, Vishnu, all the gods and goddesses also. And then the temple became part of the settlement. The center of the village has been constructed with the temple. And surrounding the temple, you will see the residential areas. And there is a change in the settlement pattern when you see what the settlement pattern in other parts of India and in Kerala. Kerala doesn't have a very large area of open space. It is always surrounded by a high area that is ground and surrounded by the paddy fields. But it is very difficult to find a large space where you can have a township or not like that. Now the scenario is totally different from what you see in other part of India, where you can have large settlements, you can have large open spaces and things like that. So here you get small settlements, very small settlements, and there will be a temple at the center. And the other places, there is no caste division. That's very seriously to be seen. There is no caste discrimination in ancient Kerala. You can have a Brahmin house, next to the Brahmin house you can have the Kshatriya or the Vaishya or the Shudra like that. But in any other places, we see that when there is a settlement, the settlement is totally divided by one community. You can correct me if I am wrong, but that is known as Bahukudumbaga type of settlement. Whereas in Kerala, we see the Eka Kudumbaga type of settlement, where these type of settlements, independent settlements will be seen. And all the independent settlements combined together, they will have a temple at the center. And this temple is dedicated to the pantheon of gods. And this has happened after the 7th century. Now, coming to the last stage, that is the uniqueness of Kerala temples, how the temples, I told you that the temples has, even Bhagavati Kava and Sarvakava has been transferred into residential buildings and then to the temples. And now I am telling you about the relationship between the planning of the residential buildings and the temples. It's almost alike, it is identical. The planning of the temples and the residential buildings are identical. And I have shown some sketches where the planning, and I don't have the time to go into the details. This shows the plan of a temple, Nadigatta, and this is the plan of a temple, which is very identical. I don't have the time to give all the details. But you can see both temples and the residential buildings. It consists of 9 into 9 columns, and that's clearly seen. And at the center of the padam is the sanctum sanctorum here, and this is a Nadigatta with a shrine. This is a Nadigatta with a shrine in the courtyard. And it is very identical to the planning of a temple with the center, and also the Padavinyasa, that is the 9 into 9 padams, and how the Panchapragarams has been incorporated in that. As per the Tantra which is followed in Kerala, we have the temples with Panchapragarams, and how these Panchapragarams, each Pragaram is a boundary. Panchapragaram is the inner boundary, and like that. The external boundary is the last boundary with the Gopuram. And the Gopurams are very small, and it has the scale of the residential entrances, etc. And this is a large temple. It goes beyond the 9 into 9 padam. It is 225 padams. Instead of the 81 padams that we normally see in the normal temples, here it is 225 padams. It is known as large temples. And a very large temples which has larger than this type for the vinyasa, 200,000. 21 into 21. You just count what will be the number of padams. That is the largest temple that can be seen. And this is a temple compound which belongs to the largest type of temples, where the external pragaram is so large it can accommodate 15 elephants at the same time. You just imagine the size of the pragaram, and on the side of the temple you will see the temple, and you see the scale of the temple. Even though this is a very large area, the temple is very small comparing to the temples in other places of India. And also the planning. When it comes to the planning of the temple, it's very identical to the planning of Nadigatta. And I told you how the Nadigatta has been shifted into a temple. And there is an example of an existing Nadigatta where there is a temple, and it follows the same principles of planning as the temple, as per the Tantra Samkhya. Tantra Samkhya is the standard text in Kerala. I don't know whether it is followed in other parts of India. In Kerala, all the temples have been constructed as per the dictums given in the Tantra Samkhya. And the Tantra Samkhya, the planning of the temple, 9 into 9, which is identical to residential planning. And my conclusion is that the evolution of temple in Kerala started the very ancient time in the form of a small grove. But even now you see these type of groves in Kerala, and it is slowly converted into a residential building, and then from the residential building, when the temples have been constructed at the time of Shankaracharya. And that's all. Thank you very much for your patience. Well, yes.